Hello humans, and welcome back to another reaction episode. Today we are going to be reacting to 10 Days in Orion. It's about the Artemis 2 mission crew inside the Orion capsule for 10 days. This is put out by NASA Johnson, which I actually don't know if this is like NASA's Johnson Space Center YouTube channel or just a third-party creator. Either way, it's going to be linked in the description down below. Please check it out. Go ahead and subscribe to them as well. And I just want to get this out of the way. This is fair use content. I will be reacting to this, commenting on this in a way that is transformative. That is my goal. I am not looking to steal content. I have to clarify this because I already have 2 copyright claims on my channel. One which results in no monetization, which I'm not getting anyways, not a big deal. The other one unfortunately resulted in the video just being removed from my channel. So I have to be careful about this, and I want the intent to be clear. I intend to be transformative and not just steal other people's content. So anyways, with all that out of the way, let's get into this video.
Artemis 2 is our first crewed mission back to the moon since the Apollo program. A lot of the focus of Artemis 2 is really checking out.
I don't know if I realized they would have sat in the seats without their spacesuits on. Like even in practice, I would have thought they would always want to be in their spacesuits in practice. But I guess it makes sense if I don't know how much training they do in general. I guess I'll have to look into that. But I guess it makes sense that they're doing a ton of training every single day inside the Orion capsule, that maybe they wouldn't always be in those spacesuits.
Systems to be sure that we're ready and well positioned for continued human exploration. My name is Susan Baggerman, and I'm the Chief Health and Performance Officer for the Orion program and the Artemis 2 mission. And this is 10 Days in Orion.
So I was watching one of the other videos, and they were saying how the effects on the body, and like you can get up there and then get sick, and then, and I always thought that since you were in a sterile quarantine environment 2 weeks before the launch, that you just wouldn't get sick. But I guess it's impossible or improbable to not get sick at all. Plus, you've just experienced a ton of G-forces and just gone through something extraordinarily strenuous on the body. So I guess it would make sense that you'd need, a full-time physician just makes sense in general. But I wouldn't have guessed that they needed one for this specific mission. But again, given everything I just said, I guess it makes sense.
For this mission, the crew will launch in the Orion spacecraft on top of the Space Launch System rocket, or the SLS rocket.
Yep. And just worth noting, I don't know when you're watching this video. I know I will be putting this video out on Easter Sunday. As of right now, when I'm recording this launch went off without a hitch. It went safely, it went smoothly, and they are currently orbiting. Actually, they're not currently orbiting the Earth. They are currently in space heading towards the moon. So that's a really cool context in this current video, is that while I'm recording it, they are in this capsule, probably going through a lot of things that we will watch in this video.
They've launched and achieved orbit. Shortly after that, they'll perform what's called an apogee raise burn. And that's basically to put them into a high Earth orbit, which is critically important for this flight because it gives the crew 24 hours where they can orbit and check out some of the key systems, but also still be close enough that we could return them to Earth if something were to happen.
I don't know if I realized that that was the case. I knew there was an escape module, which gave them the option to return immediately after getting into orbit. But I don't know if I realized if they needed to, they could have just returned the day of or the day after or 2 days after, whatever, until they leave Earth orbit. So that's really interesting because I think the collective mindset, including my own, was great. They made it to space. Now the mission will be a success. And all they have to do is make it back and it will be a mission success. I didn't realize it could have failed at some point after launch, and then they would have come back. So I'm glad they didn't have to do that. So far as I know, they're on their way to the moon. I don't think there's any returning at this point, and hopefully everything goes well and they come back safely.
One of their first priorities is conducting a rendezvous and prox ops demonstration. This is basically just a chance to check out the Orion handling qualities and what it would be like to dock to another spacecraft. They'll continue on checking out many of the different critical Orion systems. They'll be looking at things like oxygen levels within the vehicle, how the CO2 scrubbing system is performing, check out some of the critical medical systems, and be sure that we understand how the crew would do that successfully within the volume.
So does the crew have EMT training, or what would the word be? I guess maybe not EMT training, but like first aid training. That's the word I was looking for. So would the whole crew then have first aid training so that if anything arose in space, they could all kind of pitch in and resolve that injury or situation? It kind of seems like that's what they're implying here.
Of Orion. We also have, of course, systems to feed the crew.
I'm pretty sure this guy right here in the hat is Reed Weissman, who is the mission commander. He really looks like that other YouTuber. What's the guy who, like, him and his son used they used to open things up and see what's inside of stuff. What's inside? That was their channel name, I think. That's what he looks like. He looks like the dad from that channel. That's really funny.
They have a potable water dispenser that they'll check out. And then we also have a food warmer. Kind of looks like a suitcase that the crew can use to heat their food.
It's like MREs for the military. I would imagine there's a lot of translation over from military tech to astronaut tech, and maybe even vice versa.
They're also going to check out the flywheel system. We'll have the crew perform some initial exercises. Part of that is to ensure that the flywheel is actually working, but part of it is actually to be sure that our environmental control systems are actually working. For sleeping, the crew will sleep in sleeping bags. Some crew members...
Interesting. So it's like hammock style. It's a little bit difficult for me to understand the perspective of how this image was taken. I assume this is just inside the front door of the capsule, and I guess that would be the floor underneath but I guess they kind of designed this with it in mind that there's not necessarily a floor and a ceiling, because when you're floating in space, anything could be the floor or the ceiling, so I guess they have to compensate for that, but that is a very interesting layout. Doesn't look very comfortable. I know comfort is not the main goal in space travel currently. It might be in the future, but that is a very interesting layout.
Members like to be very tightly bound up, and some like to float very free. For the most part, they can sleep wherever they want within the Orion vehicle.
Okay.
They'll attempt things that may seem pretty easy to do here on Earth, but that are much...
How are they doing this? How are they floating in this video? Is this in space? Are they in space in this video? That wouldn't make any sense, because they'd have to be in space, and then they wouldn't be training because they'd be in space.
Much harder to do in microgravity. They'll use the toilet for the first time and be sure...
Oh, maybe they were inside one of those dive planes that simulate artificial gravity, anti-gravity, or non-existence of gravity, I guess. Is anti-gravity the same as just not having gravity, or is it the opposite of gravity? I don't know. I'm not really sure what the word means, to be honest.
That it's able to flush.
I'm Melissa McKinley. I'm the project manager for the UWMS, the Universal Waste Management System. Go into the bathroom without the aid of gravity, without water to collect the waste. It's harder than you would think. So we use airflow to help.
It's actually probably not harder than I would think. I would imagine it to be fairly difficult to have to force a system to intake solids and liquids in an environment where there is no pulling force in any given direction whatsoever. I would expect that to be extremely difficult. Privacy, though, I don't know how that works. Is it just like the Navy where you join and there's just no privacy? Or, hopefully for Christina's sake, the one female astronaut, there is some system they've developed. But even that, I guess that's just the awkward stage of space travel. There has to be a necessary awkward, right? There have to be things that are just not convenient, not ideal, not important enough to be prioritized to the level of sacrificing weight or space for those things, I guess is one of those things. But that is something I had not thought about until now.
Help entrain the waste into packaging to collect it and help the crew member deposit the waste away from their bodies. It is really important that we make it easy as we can for crew and make it comfortable for them, because it is a vital part of exploration.
Yeah, well.
I'm Romeo Garza. I am the Deputy System Manager for the Orion Communication and Tracking System here at Johnson Space Center. While we're in the high Earth orbit, there's a couple of things we really want to check out before we commit to going all the way to the moon. First one is just success in communicating with the Deep Space Network. This is a ground network that provides a lot of capability for us to be able to talk back and forth as we go further and further away from the Earth.
Where are those telescopes? Are they kind of scattered all over the United States, or are they like all at Johnson or all at insert place name here? I'd be interested to know. And are satellites like that, are they transferable in purpose? Meaning, like, do they build one and they're like, this is now a deep space satellite and it can only be used as a deep space satellite? Or do they just build a general satellite and they're like, okay, we're going to use this for deep space. Okay, now we're going to use this for other thing. Okay, now we can use this. You know, can they switch around, or is it like custom built to being a deep space satellite?
Step 2 is checking out our emergency comm system. The idea is that if the primary communication system fails, this emergency communication system will be able to allow us to continue talking with the crew and navigate successfully without the primary system.
Once the crew has completed that high Earth orbit and checked out all of the systems, then we'll commit to what's called the translunar injection. And this is basically the burn that commits us to the moon.
Yeah,
While
so I believe they've already done that. They are currently in translunar injection. They're currently heading towards the moon. They've already left the orbit of the Earth. I believe that's where we are as of right now, being the day before Easter.
On their journey, they'll do some testing that they quickly don their suit, pressure check it, and be sure that they're able to execute that, just to be sure that we would be ready in the future for an emergency. They'll also check out our radiation shelter. If we were to have a solar particle event, we would be asking them to take stowage out of the stowage bay and put it in some specific locations on the vehicle, basically for it to serve as shielding. After completing this journey of over 685,000 miles around the moon, the crew will splash down in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of San Diego.
Yep.
They'll be greeted by the Navy, who will recover the vessel and, most importantly, recover the crew.
Yes, and it's very interesting to me because you watch videos of the guys in the Apollo missions, like Apollo 8, for example, when they landed back on Earth after orbiting the moon and everything, just like these guys are doing. They step out of the helicopter like triumphant heroes. They don't have anyone helping them. They don't have, they're like no worse for wear almost. And then you watch like videos of modern day astronauts, and they're like, some astronauts are being carried physically from like the capsule to, a chair to like sit in. And I'm like, that's interesting that it didn't seem like that was a huge physical toll in the 60s, but now it is a big physical toll. Is that do we just understand more now, and so we're taking more precautions, or did something else change, that would require that?
This mission has been an absolute monumental effort by a large team of people within the human health and performance area.
I'm sure.
All of our efforts and all of the engineering and the medical discipline that was poured into this mission really resulted in being able to see those 4 crew members, our friends, return safely to the Earth and back to their families.
Cool. Well, oh yeah, I see the little NASA logo in the bottom there. So I guess this YouTube channel is NASA Johnson Space Center official. So good to know. But anyways, thank you for watching this video. If you have any answers to my questions, you can answer them down below. If you don't know, I prefer to discover answers naturally rather than just looking them up and instantly having the answer. I find I retain the information much better if I just don't answer the question and then stumble across it in related videos or related content or in comments, or, it just helps me process data more, I guess. But anyways, I asked a lot of questions in this video. I appreciate you guys watching. If you have anything you want me to watch in the future, feel free to link it down below, and I'll give it a look. Have a great day on Earth.